These are the top 5 things to make you a better swim bait fisherman. 1, they don't throw the dang thing. They buy these big fancy glide baits and they let them just sit in their box. They'll throw it for 5-6 minutes and then they'll pick up their jig and start working their jig again. You've got to spend time and you've got to learn these things. The more time you spend with the glide bait, the more you're going to see, the more you're going to learn, and the better you're going to be at fishing them. So actually pick them up, throw them, leave everything else at home. Don't get distracted. Just take a couple of swim bait setups and just go out there and throw it and learn it. Learn how to swim it better. Learn where the fish are positioned. Nothing's magical about these things. You don't just go throw it and like, oh, that's just a glide bait spot. You throw these on the places that you're catching fish normally, except for you're going to see a lot of different stuff with the glide bait. You're going to see what actually lives on these spots. The second thing to make you a better swim bait fisherman is learning how to utilize angles. So going out of your way, putting your boat in a different position, getting out on land and working that lay down from a different position than how every other boat goes down and fishes something. Sometimes when you're out fishing, just stop for a second and analyze how other boats are fishing. Look how they're kind of dissecting structure, and you'll notice almost every single boat fishes a piece of structure the exact same way. They're going to take the easiest route. They're going to go down the outside, flip the outside, maybe make a couple pitches up to the inside and call it good. They're not taking their time to position their boat in hard to get to positions to present a bait in a way that fish have never seen it presented before. So if they're used to seeing a spinner bait come down a lay down the exact same way every time, it's not going to take long for that fish to realize like, oh, that's danger, I'm not going to bite it. But if they see it coming from the complete opposite direction, it looks more natural. They're used to bait fish coming in from that position. Those fish are there for a reason. They're not there for you to catch them. They're there because they're trying to eat. That's their home. That's where they are. They're not going to get hurt. They're not going to bite something that they know is like going to pin them in their mouth, but they are going to try to eat something and defend their territory against something that's getting into their area. So looking as natural as possible by switching up the angle is critically important when learning to throw big swim baits. The third tip to becoming a better swim bait fisherman is get a good setup for it. So I understand starting out, you want to throw it on your flipping stick and save a little bit of money. It's great. Learn that way, but when you're really wanting to take your swim bait fishing to the next level, you need to get a good setup. I'm talking the right rod. Do a bunch of different research about rods. We'll do an in-depth video on it later, so subscribe to the channel for that coming. But figure out the size of baits that you like to throw. There's smaller baits that are around 7 1/4. There's 9 1/4 inch baits. These require 2 different setups. Figure out what kind of bait you like to throw the best and get a rod accordingly. The next is the reel. You need to have a powerful reel. Like if you're throwing just a 100 size reel, like a 7.3 or 8.3 or 8.1-1 or something like that, something fast, you're gonna get bullied by these fish. You mess around and hook a 6, 7, 8 pounder, you're going to get bullied, you're going to lose the fish. So 300 size reel allows you to be the bully, winch these things to the boat, and don't let them control the fight. Let you control the fight. That is one of the biggest tips when it comes to throwing these big baits, and you're just not going to lose as many fish. Use the right line, use the right rod, use the right reel. The third thing to make you a better swim bait fisherman is do some research on the bodies of water you're fishing. Figure out what the primary forage is in your lakes, and then adapt your swim bait fishing to emulate those forage. If there's a ton of bluegill or crappie in your lake, throw something that's bluegill or crappie oriented. If there's a bunch of blueback herring, throw something that's the size and profile of a blueback herring. Same thing goes true with gizzard shad. These two can make a huge difference in the type, if the primary forage in your lake is different. If there's a bunch of trout in there, throw something trouty. It is going to make a big difference. Also, if you're fishing something that's a lot clearer water, throw something a little bit more natural that's got a lot of depth and shading to it. Darker colors really excel in that clearer water, because look at the fish you catch in there. You catch a bluegill in a really, really clear water, that thing is dark. Very, very dark. If it's a little bit dirtier water, it's more pale white and it glows, so something like bone is probably going to excel better. So fish the right bait for the right water depending off of forage, size of forage, and also water clarity. The fifth and final thing to keep in mind when throwing these big swim baits to help make you a better swim bait fisherman is don't get super caught up on color. There's so many painters out there that make just beautiful little things. Well, guess what? Having that little extra stenciling on the chin isn't going to make that big of a difference at the end of the day. Shades are super important. I tend to keep it super simple. I've got two different shades that I throw. Something that's shaddy, something that's bone white. So it kind of stands out in different water clarities. I believe that stuff's super important. Yeah, sometimes on certain bodies of water, a little bit of purple makes a big difference. Sometimes a little bit of green makes a big difference. But if you're caught up on that, you're not paying attention to the most critical parts of swim bait fishing, which is where those fish at, the action of the bait, and the mood of the fish on those given days. Yeah, I mean, if you're fishing a trout fishery, something with some spots on it, a little bit of pink down the side is going to make a difference. Try to match the bait fish as much as possible, but don't get hung up on super elaborate, super in-depth paint schemes because it's not going to make that big of a difference for you. All right, that's my 5 biggest things to help make you a better swim bait fisherman. Now, this is just my experience. This is what I've learned through trial and error. Could be different for other guys out there. And if you've experienced something different, comment down in the comments below. I'll read through them and I'll react to them with them, kind of have a little bit of a open dialogue with it. So let me know your experience with swim bait fishermen. Let me know if this helped. We'll see you guys. Like and subscribe for more.